So, a few things have obviously cropped up this week that I could talk about, but instead of jumping to them and completely forgetting about the subject, I think that this is a more important one, and that is the whole issue of esports. Because it's definitely a growing thing. I mean, if you look at... I'm actually going to quickly go to my Twitch now and see how crazy everything is right now. Games, League of Legends. So currently, as I'm recording this, which is, I'm trying to think, Eastern time, like 9 o'clock Eastern on Saturday, April the 18th. The third place match for the LCS North American Spring Tournament of League of Legends is currently being viewed by 211,000 people, give or take, roughly. I don't know. So clearly, it's becoming a big thing that the viewers have been like this. I think when they had the, I don't think it was StarCraft 2, it might have been Counter-Strike, or it might have been one of the other League of Legends tournaments, the World Championships, it got up to 1 million people watching. Okay, that's obviously globally, it's not just in America or anything, but still, that is a lot of people globally watching a video game, considering how 20 plus years ago people thought video games wouldn't catch on. And this competitiveness reflects the title that is given to it, which is esports. And esports is certainly becoming a much bigger and vaster entity. You know, multiple games. You're having games being made just to try and cater to the esports thing, even if they are reasonable successes, but not as successful as they wanted to be. I'm looking at you, Evolve. Yeah, that didn't work, did it? No. Anyway, regardless of that, the issue comes to esports is, well, aside from that, actually, before I get to that, the other thing going on with esports, obviously, and you can tell that it's getting the viewers and the money, is you are getting a lot of management people coming in, trying to get teams and look after them and manage them. And my thing that's always with that is it's like soccer agents. Sometimes they can be a little bit snarky just for their own gains. I'm not naming names here because I'm not that well knowledgeable into it, but I've seen reports in the past of various managers for teams apparently being very snooty and not being very nice, which is a shame, because I think that sort of thing would, because they're not being very nice, then you're just adding to the overall negativity of the internet. Hello, trolls. I bet you're putting comments in the comment section below. If not, then this video worked or something. Actually, I'll wait for somebody that saw unfriended, so they'll put themselves in as Billy227, and then I'll go, oh my god, I'm going to put my hand in a meat cleaver. Meat cleaver, meat blender, screw it. I don't know. Well, why does that movie exist? Oh wait, money, or lack of investment, and making money at the box office, like most movies. Anyway, that's my rant on that. And if you think I'm going to see it, no. And the reason why, because I already know that there's probably going to be sequels, and that automatically ruins a horror film. Wow, that went on a tangent. Boom! So, esports. I'm back. I've worked it out. I think. There are more and more people wanting esports to be claimed as a legitimate sport. Probably the best example of this was last year's Dota 2 World Championships International 4, being broadcast on ESPN in America. I think it was only on ESPN3, but the thing is, the letters ESPN are there. It made it on relatively mainstream television. And I don't know whether it certainly got a lot of viewers online, probably more online, because internationally, obviously, not a lot of people would have ESPN3, I think it was, or ESPN3, or I think it was like on the Spanish version as well. For those, I don't know if it was SAP. I don't know if it had subtitles or audio description or whatever. But that sort of added to the fact that, hey, perhaps these guys are legitimate sportsmen, and we should really be praising their work and making this a legit sport. And some reports even saying that, or some views, even suggesting that perhaps at some point it could be in the Olympic Games. The one issue I have with that is the amount of money that's involved in esports. It's not like FIFA and the World Cup. I don't think you can bribe the IOC. I mean, some people might say you might, but regardless, I think the nature of everything that's happened just isn't the way the IOC currently wants to run. Perhaps in the future, I don't know how far into the future, but I wouldn't rule it out. I'm not going to be that stupid. I just don't think it's currently a viable option for them. I mean, long term, you never know, but yeah, with the amount of money that's rolling around with it, I just think it could get a bit too murky and everything. Plus, if it was to be at the Olympics, all your teams would have to be from a standard nation. And if you looked at quite a lot of the games that would be involved, certainly with strategy games like Dota 2, like StarCraft 2, certainly League of Legends as well, there would be a heavy likelihood of, basically, if Korea had 3 teams, they would be gold, silver, and bronze if you were to put it in the Olympics. Because in those games at the minute, those teams seem to be a class above everybody else, no matter where they are in the world, whether it be North America, Europe, Australia, whatever. I think that is part of the issue. That's part of the issue as well. Depending what game you chose, it would be way too slanted. Possibly with something like Call of Duty, it could be a bit different. But then the whole idea of, the Olympics is showing, people killing people. Yeah, that won't be a problem for kids to go to, being an 18-rated game. So, unless you kidify Call of Duty, which, to be honest, some people would like, shoot this thing, and glitter comes out. I don't know. Try and make it relatively kid-friendly so people can actually watch it who are the right age. Anyway, the main reason why I brought it up is there was a very interesting article posted up a couple of weeks ago on Eurogamer.net by Simon Parkin, who I think is a freelancer, writes for quite a lot of places. But the subject of it is rather interesting as well, to this whole esports becoming a sport issue. And the title is "Winners Might Use Drugs." And the subtitle, "Does esports have a doping problem?" I'm going to go through the first few paragraphs of this probably verbatim as is written, but I'm not going to go through all of it because I think there's so much there for people that sort of know esports or are really into it to really mine into the data or not the data, but what's written, and perhaps see it from a different angle. I'm not sure, because it's certainly broadened my view of it, certainly quite a bit. So, first thing to note here, the name Stephen, when it is used in this article, is really got nothing to do with the guy in question. Obviously, to use the, I don't know if it was Cops or Law and Order, probably Law and Order. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, and I guess in this sense, the guilty. So, this is where it goes. Hours before Stephen was due to compete in his second professional esports tournament, another team member offered him a pill. Quote, I had taken Adderall for a while when I was younger to treat my ADHD, so I knew from prior experience that it helps with stress and concentration. Stephen, who was 16 at the time, who is now a third-year student in Kentucky, didn't hesitate. Quote, I took it. I shouldn't have, but it was amazing, like a kind of legal speed. Before I'd suffered from nerves when competing in front of an audience. The atmosphere got to me, but when I played with Adderall, I was only focused on what was in front of me, and it made me a far better player. So Adderall, also known by some as Addy, is a prescription amphetamine that is usually prescribed to treat narcolepsy and treat ADHD. In sufficient doses, Adderall and other drugs like Ritalin and Vyvanse can greatly increase the user's ability to concentrate and ward off fatigue. As such, it's often referred to as a smart drug, infamously used by students who need to study for extended periods. But it also has other side effects, which means that it could improve reaction times, cognitive control, and even temporarily build muscle strength. Properties that make it an ideal enhancement for athletes, whether, and this is my editorial note here, whether it be obviously in sports as we know them today, or whether it's possibly even controller stuff and whatever. Even though I don't know how muscle strength will make your trigger finger even better with a 360 or an Xbox One controller. Then, the ex-chairman of WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency, their prohibited list committee, Dr. Gary Wadler, said that there is no question that Adderall is a performance-enhancing drug. He apparently told this to the Seattle Times in 2012 after two professional NFL players reportedly tested positive for the drug, and that many professional bodies like the NFL as well as the MLB and the NCAA have banned its use in the past 5 years. They give an example of Carlos Ruiz, who was a catcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, got a 25-game suspension for using Adderall back in 2012. Video game players have no practical need for the athleticism, vigor, and physical power of the professional tennis, baseball, or football players. Cyber athletes do not embody abstractions such as power and grace. They leave that to their virtual representations, which fight and flex on the screen. So in essence, they're sort of closer to chess players in that sense. They're sedentary and they're desk-bound. As such, doping appears to have no obvious role in competitive gameplay, but it's peculiarly well suited to the medium, where victory depends on a competitor's alertness, their ability to concentrate, and hand-to-eye coordination. You can't see me. As one StarCraft player wrote in 2011 on the official games forums, Adderall is basically a stim pack for gamers. After the tournament, Stephen became a frequent user of Adderall. Quote, I immediately made an appointment to see my doctor and get a prescription. From then on, I took the drug regularly whenever I was playing games online and at professional competitions, and ended up getting addicted to the stuff. At first, he saw immediate benefits. He joined a Halo team and began negotiations with an official sponsor. From then on, he says that he would only play in tournaments while using Adderall. Quote, "It was a significantly different experience playing in a tournament while on the drug. On it, I'd never freak out. Stress had no effect. And adrenaline can be useful in esports, but the benefits of Adderall far outweigh them." So, that's where I'll leave it, and it's a very interesting article, and it really is the fact that if you're going to have something that is sport, whether it's, a tiny little thing or a big huge scandal, I don't think drug taking is probably allowed. No, I don't think you're about to compete in the Super Bowl. Oh, go ahead, have some marijuana. Yeah, you'll be perfectly fine. They won't drug test you. Honest. So, if that's the case, then you are having to level the playing field. And the other thing that worries me about it, whether this is rampant use of a drug or not, I don't know. The other thing that concerns me is how young some of these players are. The Mortal Kombat tournament that happened this past week to help launch the game, the finals was a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. And also a couple of weeks back, I think it's Nadshot, one of the big, it was Counter-Strike or Call of Duty, but big time esports player, retired from competitive play for his team at like the age of 25. So clearly, the whole age span that you've got here, and at the time that they are in their life, like just coming into quote-unquote adulthood of like 18 years old, let's say, it's getting to a point that sometimes you feel a little sorry, and that if they're in these high-pressure situations and they're taking this, okay, that's pretty nice short-term effects, like you're making a crap ton of money, but what's the long-term effects? It's like what we've seen with various war situations that have happened. The short-term effect is you're killing the bad guys. Sometimes it's the bad guys in inverted commas, but regardless, the long-term effects is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Obviously, it isn't as extreme for that for probably this drug, but looking at it, and there's a picture in the article as well that says this, that some of the negative effects is that you can have headaches, mood fluctuations, shortness of breath, have trouble sleeping, malnutrition due to lack of appetite, irregular heartbeats, numbness in areas in the body, tremors. That's something I don't think many people would like to have at the age of 25. I think most people would like to live longer. So, let's hope this isn't right, and let's hope that they realise that if this is a sport, if they want this to become a sport, then we really can't have stuff like this going on, because otherwise it's going to get problematic. And with this, I announced the launch of a brand new tournament where everybody has to play 32 versions of Crash Bash. Great success!